not only superintendents here, but our governor here to support giving out all the information needed for our families to have the comfort level that they need for their young people to be successful. I learned a long time ago that the best helping hands you can find are always at the end of your own two arms. So when we talk about resources, the goal is to put out information, because I learned that information changes situations. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, having yourself armed with all the information possible will positively change the trajectory of your future. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the microphone over to Superintendent Reno of Putnam Schools.
Thank you. How you doing, everybody? My name is Steve Rio. I'm the superintendent of Putnam Public Schools and also serve as president of the Connecticut Association for Public School Superintendents. The CAPS organization is dedicated to advocating for our policy, procedures, and resources to make education better and stronger in the state of Connecticut every single day. Our superintendents work together to network, regardless if we work in an urban district, a suburban district, or in a rural community. Because we know every single day, in every single classroom, we have teachers, paraeducators, counselors, support staff that work hard to make our classrooms feel like a family. It's important that our classrooms have this safe learning environment, because it's when our children feel safe that they learn best. So together, working with our community partners, the governor's office, we're very thankful for the guidance that we've been given. The most recent guidance of the State Department of Education has been very helpful to remind our staff that if law enforcement come to our schools and are asking for information, the process is clear. Communicate with the superintendent, follow the law, and respect student privacy. So working together, we are proud to be able to be a partner in today's conversation. We have many speakers to introduce today, and our first one I'd like to introduce is Tabitha Asadeo. She's the Executive Director of the Connecticut Students for a Dream. Tabitha?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Is this the mic? I'm kind of short. There we go. So I first just want to begin by thanking Governor Lamont for the invitation to be here today. And you know, it matters that immigrant youth and that families are part of this conversation. And I'm grateful for the chance to share what I have witnessed and what I have experienced. As the Executive Director of Connecticut Students for a Dream, I work closely with undocumented students and their families. They are resilient, brilliant, and walk into classrooms with enormous weights on their shoulders. Many wonder if their parents will be home at the end of the day. Others struggle to focus after raids shake their neighborhoods. Teachers and principals see this fear in attendance, in grades, and in mental health. And it's happening right here, right now in Connecticut. I know this feeling because I have lived it. When I first came to the United States as an undocumented teenager, it was during the recession. My parents worked in construction, and so work dried up quite quickly. No one wanted to work on their homes during the recession. My parents had to risk detention as they traveled to other states on a Greyhound to find jobs just to put food on the table. That meant leaving me and my sister to take care of our baby brothers. We were children ourselves, trying to hold a family together. No one at our school knew what we were going through. Not our teachers, not our classmates. I know what it's like to be scared, to be hungry, and to be exhausted while pretending that everything is fine. No child in Connecticut should ever have to go through that kind of heartache. And today, too many children are living through exactly that. This is the reality our students are navigating. Now, I want to acknowledge leadership in issuing school guidance and family preparedness. It's really incredible, so thank you so much, Governor Lamont, and to everybody who made that possible. These are tools that help superintendents, principals, and families know what to do if immigrant enforcement touches a student's life. It is certainly an important step forward. Guidance around courthouses is also an important step, and I commend leadership for making moves in that direction. And listen, folks, exercise is great. We can take even more steps, right? It's good for our cardio. As a law student, I especially know that schools and courts are supposed to be places of justice and protection, where children and families should feel safe. The reality is that the fear remains we should continue to move, to sprint in this direction of courage. We should continue to show our values and the policies that we pass, and we should protect immigrant communities to the fullest extent. We need leadership to continue to be willing to stand up against the federal wave arriving to infringe on our state sovereignty. As we know, Congress is preparing to spend over $170 billion on immigrant enforcement through the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. That means more raids, more detentions, and more family separations. It means more strain on our schools and our communities. It's a declaration of mass chaos on all of our qualities of life, immigrant or not. And here's what often gets left out of the conversation. Undocumented immigrants pay taxes. Every year, undocumented people in Connecticut and across the country pay over $96 billion in federal Social Security and Medicare. Those dollars support the retirement, the healthcare, and the safety nets of U.S. citizens. Connecticut residents want our Connecticut tax dollars to be used to strengthen schools, hospitals, businesses, and not to tear families apart. And this is not only just about undocumented immigrants. People with status are losing protections and finding themselves vulnerable to detention. An Afghan interpreter right here in Connecticut, he risked his life working alongside the US military. He's now being held in detention in Massachusetts. If even an ally who stood with American soldiers can be detained, then none of us can claim that this system is fair. Children are dying in federal facilities. We have a student from Meriden High School that remains in Texas. These are not partisan issues, they are moral ones. They cut into the core of who we are as a country and who we are as the state of Connecticut. This special session, we continue to call on elected officials to act boldly and to act swiftly because the stakes are too high and the cost of delay is too great. We call for the protection of sensitive information of all Connecticut residents and to take even greater steps in protecting immigrants at state courthouses and to protect Connecticut from militarized immigration enforcement and to invest in our schools. Governor, thank you so much for listening to us and for being an ally. I also know what happens when children are left behind. We have the responsibility to make sure that no student in Connecticut ever has to carry the fear and exhaustion that I once carried. If we act with compassion and our super sharp Connecticut brains, because we are brilliant, we can ensure that every student, regardless of immigration status, walks into school knowing that they are safe, that they are supported, that they are seen, and that they and their families belong here, that we embrace them as fellow Connecticut community members. Governor, we look forward to working with you during special session and talking more. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Our next speaker this evening is one of our local leaders. I'd like to introduce Superintendent Anderson from East Hartford Public Schools.
Good afternoon. So thank you, Governor, for bringing us here together around such an issue that deeply matters to all of us and all the families and communities that we each belong to. In East Hartford, we know that strong schools are built on strong, supported families. And today's event is about ensuring that every parent and caregiver has the tools they need to prepare for the unexpected. Because when families are prepared, students are protected. None of us ever want to imagine being separated from our children, but having a plan in place brings that peace of mind. So having a family preparedness plan will reduce the stress of the unexpected, and it will ensure that children remain safe and cared for. It is our responsibility as a community to help families safeguard the future of their children, our students. So there are some simple practical steps that we encourage our East Hartford and all families to take. First, identify a trusted adult who can step in and care for your child. Then, complete a standby guardian designation form, which allows that person to make important decisions for your child. Create a child care plan that includes emergency contacts and critical information, much like the student emergency forms that we already have. And when needed, designate a power of attorney to ensure financial matters are able to be taken care of as well. I know that in East Hartford, we are committed to connecting our families with resources, sharing information, and ensuring children feel safe and supported in our schools and in our community, which I'm sure is the case in all of our communities in Connecticut. We want every family to know that you are not in this process alone, and we have resources to connect and make this strive a little bit easier. Preparedness should not be about fear, but strength and protection. When our families have a plan, they can face challenges with confidence, and children can continue to grow and thrive in a safe, stable environment. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak and share some words, and we thank all of our partners who are helping the families prepare to be protected and move forward with a continuing feeling of hope. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Our next speaker is Superintendent Gasper from New Britain Public Schools.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Dr. Tony Gasper. I'm the superintendent for the Consolidated School District of New Britain. Firstly, I want to say thank you to the governor and his office for issuing this really critical information. Every superintendent wants to communicate clearly and effectively, and most importantly, factually with our families. And when we get the support from the governor's office and the state level with important items like this, it means all the difference to my colleagues and I who want to communicate so well with our families, especially on a topic like this where there's so much misinformation and disinformation. So really do want to say thank you and commend the governor's office for providing this important resource to us. We've already shared it in New Britain. We know that our families have already begun to download this important resource, and it's available at our schools should parents or families want to use it. And lastly, this is a critical piece of partnership between us and our families. As was said earlier by my colleagues, kids learn best when the kids and the families feel a partnership with their schools. And by our being able to provide such important resource and useful resource about a matter that's really on everyone's minds, it lets us do that in a much more calm, caring, and supportive way. So it's my pleasure to, again, speak to you today, and really thanks again to Governor Lamont and his office for providing this support to superintendents so that we can support the families and communities that we serve. Thank you.
And our next critical partner with public schools is, I'd like to introduce Deputy Commissioner Bergeron from the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. Commissioner?
Thank you. I want to be able to give a couple minutes to talk about the things that we are doing and have been doing to support school preparedness and preparations every day throughout the year. First of all, to date, we've got a school security grant program that has funded over 1,700 projects with over $93 million total bond allocations since 2013. And it's important to note that $86 million of that funding went to public schools, $7.2 million went to non-public. So it's money that's being spent across the board. The next round will be coming out no later than spring of 2026. The program is robust and continues to be supported by the governor and the legislature. We help with physical school assessments. That's part of an important thing for schools to take a look at what they have and what they can do to improve their security, and we work closely with the schools and school districts, town emergency managers, and others to make sure that the schools are safely set up. We have school security and safety plan standards that are required by statute, were created with a working group that included local, state, and private sector partners to make sure that we have standards that are working for towns and school districts. And those plans also include a template that we do each year so that schools are able to prepare their plans in a way that's standardized and provides up-to-date information for the school, staff, visitors, and personnel. We also have a suite of training opportunities that we offer. We have training opportunities for individual schools, for across the board for different school districts and other people, and we do those all the time. And we want to make sure that training and exercise is a key component, because if you have a plan, you need to exercise it and train on it, or it's not as useful as it could be. We also want to mention the fact that really, honestly, collaboration and coordination is key. You see here today all of the people that are participating, and they represent hundreds and thousands of people, students, parents, staff, who work together to keep everybody in the school community safe. There are a couple of other things that we're doing within our department to help keep that happening. One is a hate crimes initiative, where we are sending out individuals from the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection to work with schools on indicators and other things to help avoid school incidents that involve hate crimes. And finally, on October 17th, we will be holding a targeted violence symposium working with both school districts and also with other professionals in this area to help bring this message to the public and to those that participate in preparedness activities to keep everyone as safe as possible. So we work every day. We've been working since I started at Demis, it's now been 20 years that Demis has existed, and that goal of school security is one very critical piece of what we do for emergency preparedness. Thank you.
You can introduce Tehran.
Oh, I'm so sorry, you're right. So another piece of what we do is we've always been working on these school security initiatives, but we have not had a dedicated school security program supervisor. And so we are really delighted to introduce Tehran Jones, who's waving at you, as our school security preparedness coordinator and supervisor. And the reason that his position is so critical is all these things that we do, we need a point of contact. We need someone who's the point person at the state and local level to reach out and make sure that we are coordinating the programs that we have, to make sure we're hitting the gaps that might exist. Tehran comes from the City of Bridgeport Department of Emergency Management. He was the Deputy Emergency Management Director there. And so his experience is vast. His involvement already has been incredibly crucial in the less than a month that he's been here. But we're very, very excited to have him on the team. Thank you for reminding me.
And finally, it is a great honor to introduce Governor Ned Lamont, who has been a strong advocate and a consistent partner in supporting students, families, and educators in the great state of Connecticut. Governor?
Steve, thank you. Yeah, live in a new day and age where we now have a state school security officer, and that's what we need. Look, Andrea, this is a beautiful school. This is so gorgeous, and sports medicine, science, and physical therapy. Anybody good at physical therapy can give me a call. Schools only work if everybody's coming and they feel safe being here. And that's what this day is all about. There's just a lot of press out there, a lot of noise in the media, a lot of fear out there in terms of, am I safe coming to school? Am I safe bringing my child to a beautiful school like this? And the answer is yes. Right after the election in November, the first thing I said was, please, make sure your child feels safe coming to our schools. And that we're doing everything we can to make sure your child is safe and to make sure you feel that they are safe. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And there are very few instances. I don't want to overstate what's going on here, but precaution makes sense, as Brenda was saying. So Charlene Russell Tucker, our Commissioner of Education, came out with guidance going back a few months ago. We have somebody at this school who's designated, so if ICE was to knock on the door, this person comes down, they're able to interface in a very polite and respectful way. So we don't have the immigration status. Can I see your identification? No, you can't walk around with a mask in our school. No warrantless arrests. Try to be very clear about that. And most importantly, just give you confidence that your kid can go to school safely here, and we're looking out for them. We did something similar yesterday regarding our courthouses. And again, I need everybody feeling safe and confident they go to the courthouse. Sometimes they're maybe they're a witness to a crime. We need them for law and order to feel safe going into our courthouses, and that's what we did again. We said no masks allowed, no warrantless arrests. I want you to know that you can be in our courthouse. I want you to know that you can be in our schools and do that safely. And that's what we're trying to say today. So look forward to seeing you guys in school tomorrow.
Well, thank you to all of our speakers and for sharing your leadership and your commitment. Working together, we send a clear message. Connecticut schools are places where students feel safe, supported, and free to focus on learning. Thank you, everyone.
Can someone explain to me right now, if somebody came from high school to the building, what could the school possibly do to prevent them from taking the student?
You're welcome. So first off, there are security protocols in place regardless of who comes in, any visitor. So I'm sure if you come here, you come to a school in East Hartford, there's the camera phone that you have to buzz into. They can ask you all the questions. They can see who's there. And there's identification that has to be presented. They have to sign in, all those type of things. In asking those questions, they figure out what is their business of being there. If that is the case, they're able to call one of our security team individuals who would be able to intervene, ask other types of questions if that's necessary. But in terms of just getting into the building, there's no access. You have to be admitted into the building. No one can just walk in.
But I guess ultimately, if they are ICE and they have a warrant or there's a process, they can take a student if they want.
If they have about elementary students, high school, middle, it is our responsibility to make sure that we're taking care of them. So we are not forwarding information that we shouldn't be forwarding to the individuals when they come.
What does that mean?
In terms of if you're identifying a student, that has to be identified by the individual seeking that child.
How is that process different from the process that might take place if local police or state police show up searching for a student in connection with a non-immigration related offense?
If there is a criminal act that they're seeking out an individual and they have all the proper documentation, then they're able to come in and do what they need.
And in that category of proper documentation, under the guidance that's been issued, are civil immigration detainers included in that, or is it, as the governor says, has to be a warrant that you're asking?
You still need to have a warrant. You can't just come into a school. I'm going to reiterate, you can't just walk into a school building. You have to have all proper documentation, information, everything before you're going to get access.
But if ICE presented an immigration detainer, would the administrator know, what would the designated administrator do in that situation?
We have informed our staff on who they need to call if that is the case. So they are well equipped with who they need to contact if that's the case of someone trying to come in.
I believe East Hartford policy requires, and I looked it up, it requires a signed judicial warrant, not
Yes.
a civil immigration detainer.
Exactly.
So it's got to be a signed judicial warrant.
Yep.
I also, and maybe what the superintendent or Superintendent Rio could answer this, perhaps the governor, there really haven't been any immigration enforcement actions at schools. I mean, 2 students have been picked up. One was picked up at his workplace. Another was picked up, I believe, when he showed up with his father for an immigration check-in. A mother in New Haven was stopped as she was preparing to take her kids to school. But has there been any examples of immigration detention being carried out in any public schools in Connecticut?
No, I think that's a fair question. And so far, speaking to many of my colleagues, there hasn't been actual events where the enforcement officers are coming to schools. But the reality is our families and our students are concerned of the what if. So many of our schools have received phone calls from families, and they really want to know what the proper procedures are, what the schools are going to do to help their children feel safe. So a part of a message and communication like today is just keeping people informed that there is a plan in place. You know, and I think I'd also share, schools have strong cooperative partnerships with local police officers. So regarding the question, if it was just our typical town police, we have worked together that they do their investigations outside of the school setting so that the school setting can be a place of learning where everyone feels safe.
Has there been any cases that you know of, or perhaps any of the superintendents have had this happen? Has immigration and customs enforcement contacted schools in Connecticut, school officials, school administrators, seeking information on students, requesting access to a student? Has any of that occurred in Connecticut, to your knowledge?
Not that I'm aware of. And
The Department of Homeland Security put out a statement last week saying agents aren't going into schools. They changed the policy to give them the authority, but they're not going into schools, and that they feel events like this are actually creating sort of a false narrative that schools are at risk of this happening. I guess just your response to that statement of the Department of Homeland Security.
It was very refreshing to see that statement. I saw it myself. To the criticism that it's creating a false narrative. Our schools are still receiving phone calls from families. So it's our responsibility to communicate with families, to share them what our plan is. So we're not exaggerating any situations that are taking place. We're just answering their questions to help them feel safe.
What do you think about that development, Governor? On that question on the DHS statement.
I think we're trying to remind parents that their kids can come to school safely. I think by setting very clear rules, maybe that's a deterrent from some who might want to knock on the door and try and detain a student. To your bigger point, it's not a big problem in this state right now, but let's get in front of it and let's give the parents confidence that their kids can come here safely.
I know chronic absenteeism has been an issue in many positions here statewide. Has this been a factor recently, or have you seen an uprise of parents not sending their kids when this type of rhetoric is happening in the current climate?
Yes, thank you for that. We've not made a correlation with chronic absenteeism and immigration. That question is asked often, and there's been no correlation. So the answer is no for now.
How do you communicate with parents not sending their students if any of the district has seen that happen in this particular year?
No, not in this year. And chronic absenteeism that's an ongoing thing. That's been the terminology for the last 2 decades, and there's multiple factors that go into chronic absenteeism.
How do you communicate to parents about what you're saying here today, so that they know that you're working with them? How is it done?
So we send out a newsletter weekly with information that pertains to our family, whether it's going through our Family Resource Center, our Welcome Center, Superintendent's Communication Weekly. The goal is just to over-communicate because of the rhetoric and being proactive. To some of the reporters' point, we've not seen any issue, of anyone coming, knocking on our doors, and we have 39 schools saying, give me a student. But I also want to share, coming to the state of Connecticut, we have a great working relationship with our director of ICE here. And also when I was in the state of Maryland, we had an excellent relationship with our ICE director. They understand young people are young people and they're students. So I can say as a superintendent and CEO of Hartford Public Schools, we are working in good faith with all agencies surrounding the situation.
Dr. Gasper, I wonder, in your experience, I'm sure all the superintendents speak with the chief executive of the town about this. In your experience, what has Mayor Stewart's posture been toward the prospect of immigration enforcement in schools? Is she supportive of these measures to designate officials to interact with ICE?
Yeah, it wouldn't be for me to speak on behalf of Mayor Stewart, other than to say she and I have an excellent working relationship, as I do with all of our town first responders, including the police department. So that would have to be a question for Mayor Stewart herself.
We're going to let the student media ask one last question, then we have a wrap.
As a student here at SMSA, what should we do if we're approached by ICE? How should we react?
Well, I think it's important for our students to get the updated information and all of the guidance. It comes from our state level, and it also comes directly from the school level. And also, we have opportunities for advisories. It's okay to have these open conversations and keep it two-way, because this is new in the middle of the decade of the 2020s. So it's new information. It's important that we have those conversations, but have the facts as well, too. I don't want any one of us to work out of any type of fear or to be reactionary. Just proactive and do what you're supposed to do. We're going to make sure we have your back.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Governor. Always good to see you, sir. Appreciate it. Good seeing you. No problem. Appreciate you, man. I'm looking like I don't want to answer that one.